Hi, I'm Jonah. I'm doing the 61B Project 3 video. Unlike the other projects, or I guess I haven't recorded Project 2 yet, I'm doing them out of order, but unlike Project 1, this one's kind of long and non-trivial, so I'm just going to go through my actual example and point out some cool implementation things as I see them. I'm not going to be too concerned about like showing off all the code. The first big thing that we're greeted with on the menu is this little customize screen, which you can reach either by keyboard navigation or by clicking. This little help menu over here that tells you what to do in this screen. And you can customize the color. There's no way to customize the color with the mouse, admittedly, but you can customize the color with S and W, just changing these RGB values. So you can get like this weird sort of greenish. Then by clicking here and having this one selected, any character on the keyboard becomes your character of choice. I like the escape character because they don't know what to do to render that one, so it just ends up as a little box. Press confirm. We go back to this screen, and then we can start a game. You can enter a seed, and it'll like stop you when you reach the max, so you can't like break it. And then you're greeted with this world where we have a little field of view thing applied where you can't see fully. We have a number of keys down here, and we have a little description box. If you hover over something in the frame, you can see it. If you go out of the frame, we don't know what's going on. And then we get to these where we can press K, and then the key updates there as we've collected it. And we can sort of path around this world and try and figure out where all the keys are. There's one. We found the last one, so we can actually press Z to see the whole world that we generated. Turn off the field of view limiter, and we can look at everything, and we see that this is a key, so we collect it, and then we win. Because we won, no save was created, but you'll notice that our player was saved because our player is saved independently of the world, so that you always have your ideal player of choice when you start a new game. If you press :Q, the game will close, and you can go back in and load the same game with the exact same state. It does, of course, remember when you've collected a key, and everything functions as expected. It does, of course, remember whether you have your field of view toggled. All that'll stay the same. And yeah, this is more or less the project. You just go around collecting these keys. It's not much of a game. It's not that fun to play, but it's certainly something. This is definitely some interesting generation that's happened right there. Yeah, so that is the bulk of what happens. I can't speak much to how the world gen works because that was mostly my partner, but some cool sort of general design ideologies that we went with is my goal was to have the actual loop that makes the game work as simple as possible. So we see here it's just this while loop here. So it's only like 10 lines of code that runs the different functions. And the way we accomplished this is I wrote a system where you can basically, when you create this game loop, you have these hooks where you can hook on renderers and not keys. You can hook on renderers and like input for like processing, and you can have it, and as the thing runs, it will just render everything. Or I guess it'll wait for a key input, and then these key inputs will handle the corresponding interactions, and then it just renders the whole world by going through all the different renderers. So the idea is that you have something that's a super object-oriented approach to this, because you can take a player and say, I have all the logic for the player here, and then you can have player extend, or I guess implement, and really what I should have done is had a function that returns one of these, but I just had the player implement it itself. a render hook, and an interaction handler. And if you go down here, you see this render function is what gets called to render the player in the world. And this, this handle function is what gets called by the keyboard handler to give it the key that's been pressed in the context of the world, so that it can process whether you move the player. So all of that can happen in a very object-oriented, clean approach. I will say that it got kind of messy towards the end, and there are some slight changes I might have made doing it over, but I'm pretty happy with the end results here. And then the way that the loading and unloading works is a little bit different than what I think most people did, where they just saved the entire history. We use this serializable interface, which has a function serialize that returns a string, and a function deserialize, which takes in a string. And the idea is that we have in this saving file, or saving subclass, a loader or subpackage. I don't know what they're called. You have this loader that you can, again, hook stuff onto with a key, and then the way it'll store it is, we don't have a save file that exists right now. Let's make one. Sort of a save file, and it'll store key, and then all the data you pass it. Key, the string you pass it. Key, the string you pass it. And then when you start the world, the first thing you do is you create all of these individual things and add them to the loader, so that when someone presses L, we go back through and read the file and say, okay, get the key, get the value, and then grab the function associated with key and run this deserialize function to reload all the data exactly as it was before, which technically should be a little bit more, I guess, a little less limited in what it could do in theory, although I don't think this project really ever takes advantage of that. But yeah, so the same file has the way we save the player separately as well. That's more or less the project we worked on. I'm pretty happy with the end results. Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much for your time.